In a small village surrounded by lush green fields, there lived a young woman named Aisha. Aisha was known for her kindness and her gentle nature, but she often found herself overwhelmed by the challenges life threw her way. Every time a problem arose, whether it was financial trouble, a disagreement with a friend, or a difficult situation at work, Aisha would feel disheartened and question why life had to be so hard. One day, after a particularly tough week, Aisha decided to visit her grandmother, who lived on the edge of the village. Her grandmother was a wise and strong woman who had faced many hardships in her life, yet she always seemed to be calm and content. Aisha hoped that her grandmother could give her some advice on how to deal with the problems she was facing. When Aisha arrived, her grandmother welcomed her with a warm hug and led her into the kitchen. As they sat down, Aisha poured out her heart, sharing all the difficulties she was going through. "Why is life so full of problems, Nanny? It feels like every time I solve one, another one appears. I'm tired of struggling all the time," Aisha said, her voice full of frustration. Her grandmother listened patiently and then said, "Come with me, dear. I want to show you something." She took Aisha by the hand and led her to the stove, where she placed 3 pots of water. She then put a carrot in the first pot, an egg in the second, and some coffee beans in the third. They sat in silence as the water began to boil. After a while, Aisha's grandmother turned off the stove and carefully removed the carrot, egg, and coffee beans from the pots. She placed them in separate bowls and looked at Aisha with a gentle smile. "Tell me, Aisha," her grandmother began, "what do you see?" Aisha looked at the bowls and replied, "I see a carrot, an egg, and some coffee." Her grandmother nodded and said, "Yes, but look closer. What happened to each of these in the boiling water?" Aisha picked up the carrot, which had once been firm and strong. Now, it was soft and weak. She cracked open the egg, which had been fragile with a liquid center, and found that it had become hard inside. Finally, she took a sip of the coffee, which had transformed the boiling water into a rich, aromatic drink. Her grandmother explained, each of these faced the same adversity, the boiling water. But each reacted differently. The carrot went in strong but came out weak and soft. The egg was fragile but became hardened on the inside. And the coffee beans? They changed the water itself, turning it into something new and wonderful. She continued, "Life is full of problems, Aisha. You can choose how you respond to them. You can be like the carrot and let difficulties make you weak. You can be like the egg and let challenges harden you and make you bitter. Or you can be like the coffee beans and use the challenges to transform yourself into something better, and in the process, make the world around you better too." Aisha sat in silence, absorbing her grandmother's words. She realized that problems were not something to be feared or resented but opportunities to grow and change. She could choose to let life's difficulties break her, or she could choose to use them as fuel to become stronger and wiser. From that day on, Aisha approached her problems with a new mindset. Whenever she encountered a challenge, she reminded herself of the coffee beans. Instead of being overwhelmed, she asked herself how she could use the situation to learn, grow, and make a positive impact on her life and the lives of others. Over time, Aisha became known not just for her kindness, but for her resilience and strength. She learned that problems were a natural part of life, but they didn't have to define her. Instead, they became the stepping stones that led her to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. The moral of the story is that life's problems are inevitable, but how we respond to them is our choice. We can let difficulties weaken us, harden us, or transform us. By embracing challenges as opportunities for growth, we can turn adversity into something positive and become stronger, wiser, and more resilient.